Welcome into a Friday edition of the Jordy Culotta Show.
Just
driven
blowing
and
my
powered
ears out.
by Go
See, it sounded fine in
Chevrolet.
mine.
Oh my god.
It's just that headset.
Oh
It's
my
over there
god.
on the. I got you.
I just jumped out of my chair. That was the loudest I've ever heard you talk. Like, that's gonna live in my head forever.
Welcome in
Is that better?
to a Friday edition of the
No.
Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Remember, our friends
Yes.
are online at geauxchevrolet.com, geauxchevrolet.com. They got a used car lot right there on the corner of Florida Boulevard and Sherwood Forest for Go Express Auto Sales. And, of course, a brand new car lot out in LaPlace, Louisiana that you can find for Go Chevrolet. Online always, geauxchevrolet.com. Going to talk recruiting front and center here with LSU football as the Tigers were able to pick up another commitment on Thursday. Sam Spiegelman from On 3 is going to be here at 8 a.m. this morning, and we will talk to Spiegelman about LSU's recent hot streak over the last couple of days as they have had a ton of success on the recruiting trail. They pick up Jeremiah Hughes is the latest out of Las Vegas, out of Bishop Gorman High School, was the latest to commit to LSU, and we will talk about that coming up with Sammy Spiegelman at 8 o'clock this morning. If you have a recruiting question, jump inside of the chat. Remember, you can hashtag AskSpiegs, and we will ask Sammy coming up here at 8 a.m.
Speakeasy.
About any recruiting question that you may have for this LSU class, as the month of July has been a heater for the Tigers. We will talk more, obviously, about the SEC schedules and media days that is coming up. Just a little programming note for you if you want to be ready for this. We will be live at SEC Media Days throughout the entire week. We'll be there covering it with our partners over at WAFB. Jacques and I will have afternoon hits on WAFB each afternoon from Atlanta, College Football Hall of Fame, and then we will have morning hits here. We'll have the crew driving the show back at home.
Talking about.
What's that?
Are we?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Got to take advantage of that, man. Can't let that content come and go. So we'll have you guys back here.
We're going to have a good time.
Managing Master Control, and I'll be over in Atlanta videoing in. There's not a lot that happens during our time slot of SEC media, like the 7 to 9 window for the actual media days is pretty quiet as far as what's happening on the floor and as far as what's happening with programs and teams. So I don't know how much news we'll be talking about between 7 and 9 a.m., but we should be able to have some content coming back. I'll have a recorder and a camera over there with me that I'll be sending back stuff and interviews throughout the day. LSU is the first off of the bus, really. I mean, they're the first ones up to the podium. Brian Kelly is going to be featured on day one of SEC Media Days, and we speculated a little bit on who we think they're going to bring. And that announcement should be coming pretty quickly here. I'm hearing more and more. I think they're bringing Besh.
Really?
I think they're bringing
Might as well bring me.
I think they're bringing Jack Besh.
That's awesome.
First
Oh,
sophomore
my
to make the trip
God.
since Odell.
Really?
Who?
Now I don't. There's just been some
Rumblings.
I've just heard some rumblings of that they're bringing
Where's SEC Media Day?
Atlanta.
Oh yeah,
else?
he'll yeah.
I haven't.
Head check.
Others, right?
What's that?
No, aren't
They're
they
bringing
bringing
two.
some others?
They bring
Okay.
two.
The Holy Spirit, the Lord.
Yeah, better be packing him with
Yeah,
Besh.
absolutely.
Magic City.
Wings.
Maybe B.J. Ojolari, maybe Mike Jones.
Who?
Maybe.
Those two would be great.
Yeah, someone upperclassman, somebody that.
Ali Gay.
Yeah, I don't know. Gay doesn't. He doesn't like the media. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't do.
Laid back guy.
Yeah, he's very laid back, very quiet. You want to make sure and put somebody out there that enjoys that, because it's such a. It's a taxing day. You know what I mean? For as much as you think that it's pretty easy to put on a suit and do 5 hours of Q&A, it'll wear you down,
Yeah,
man.
that's
I mean, we're
exhausting.
talking to. I was there last year. We went just for the day. because of some COVID restrictions that the SEC had implemented with the new policy. We were just there for the day of LSU. They would ask, people that were in like podcasting, digital stuff. They were just giving you 1 day credentials for the team that you covered. So I went up with LSU. I think LSU was on the first day last year, if I'm not mistaken, in Hoover. And once we got there, Stingley and Austin Deculus were the two representatives. We were pretty cool with both of those guys. And at the end of it, I remember talking to Stingley, and he was like, "Bro, I'm gassed." He's like, I'm exhausted just from the day. He's like, you don't realize how much of a workout talking is, where you can move room to room. You answer the same questions probably 30 times. You answer, versions of the same questions probably 50 times. It's just, it's a day that you have to understand. It's a lot of coach speak. It's a lot of the taglines of the business of, you don't want to give anything that will live and breathe on. I'd imagine that there's going to be a lot of, the same questions to Brian Kelly. They're going to ask him, you're opening yourself up to more of a, from an SEC standpoint, more of a national media contingent, not just a regional media contingent. Every market of the SEC will obviously be represented, but like Ross Dellinger told us, Ross is probably the most powerful voice in college football. I think from a writing standpoint, that his work is resourced more than any others when trying to just find news around college football. Him, Thamel, the usual suspects. But Dellinger said, he'll be doing a couple of days in Atlanta before he goes to ACC Media Day. So you'll have a lot of the national contingents there. So you'll get questions that, Kelly's probably answered locally here before. And he'll probably get those, 20, 25 times about the accent, about the dancing, about the moving, about why leaving Notre Dame. A lot of the questions that he's had to answer over the last, couple of months, he'll get a flurry of those when he shows up to Atlanta.
Do y'all remember our
week
plan
from Monday
for last year's SEC Media Day? We were going to rent like a kidnapper van and all go. And then pull people in to interview them like on the outskirts of it.
Because we weren't official.
Because we weren't credentialed.
Oh, that's right.
That was
so
a
we're
big
gonna
plan.
do
Big plan.
That would have been fun. Still would be fun.
It still would be fun.
But I guess our overlords, WFB, are going to do it the right way.
Exactly. We don't
I'll
need
go
the
and I'll
kidnapper
still
van.
do it.
Yeah, they brought a little credibility to us.
Yeah, I guess.
They did.
People are paying attention to us a little bit more from like the executive committee, the SEC. We got credentialed through WAFB. And I got a call from her, Vincent, in the office and say, "Well, you trying to make a play for the week now?" Because they're still doing the day passes for kind of local media,
right?
Like for the local affiliates that
the Fringe fans with the what was it? Fringe fans with a mic.
Fringe fans.
Those guys.
Fringe fans with a mic. Remember, Metropolitan Health Group brings you our show daily and our phone line daily. Get in touch with Jason Ramazan and Charlie Harvey for anything real doctors, real solutions over at Metropolitan Health Group. On the phone line today, we'll be talking to Sam Spiegelman at 8 a.m., and then we will also be talking to Nathan Velasquez at 8:30 this morning. Nathan reviewing Elvis for us this morning at 8:30, and then 8:45, Galen Iverstein, the big dog, coming through here with a couple of breakfast burritos.
Ooh,
I
I
saw
on their
these
Instagram.
too.
You did. Those look good.
And then he'll be telling us about the move, about what's going on with the new move, serving lunch, obviously everything that's coming up here with the new location with Iverstein's, and obviously bringing us our Foodie Friday. So looking forward to seeing Galen come through here and in a couple of minutes, or excuse me, at 8:45 this morning. LSU baseball making some news here on this Friday, as it looks like they are going to fill out the rest of their coaching staff. Jay Johnson, if you missed that interview with Mikey a couple of nights ago, that was good stuff, man. With Jay Johnson, as he was giving you a lot of insight to some of the new
You were in the room. Where are you at?
some of the new recruits.
I'm watching Jeremiah Hughes on the internet. I'm just watching some highlights. I'm making my own evaluations over here.
What do you think?
I think he plays a lot of wide receiver, but he's a good two-way guy. Put him at corner. He's long. But yeah, no, Jay Johnson was unbelievable. The way that he's opened up to Mikey and I guess the rest of the room is unbelievable. And he feels like he's a guy that really values his time, but he kind of sets aside a good chunk of his time for Mikey, which is, I feel like we're in,
Definitely.
So it's a great feeling.
You can just tell by the way he interacts.
Yeah, he's very loose. We kind of get the non-coach version of him, which is great. And he went over everything from how he got Wes Johnson, how he's been able to do in recruiting, what's going to happen in MLB draft. He hit on all the high points. So it's definitely an interview. We have it cut up on the Mic'd Up channel. Absolutely worth checking out. And we're going to Uncle Earl's today.
Yes,
Friday,
Uncle Earl's this afternoon, 4:30 to 6. Josh Jordan. Josh Jordan is going to be the last full-time coach, according to D1 Baseball, that's going to be hired by Jay Johnson. Jordan, who has been with the Duke program as the associate head coach since 2012, has really established himself as one of the elite recruiters in the country since being over there. He was named the assistant coach of the year back in 2018 for the job that he did for the ACC Blue Devils. Prior to winning that award, Jordan was the associate head coach of the program in 2015 and played an integral part in helping the program reach the NCAA tournament in 18, 19, and 21. LSU has obviously a number of freshmen currently on campus. That was some of the stuff that Jay Johnson was talking about the other night. This recruiting class, very highly touted, very highly regarded. Jay Johnson told LSUsports.net about Josh Jordan. He was very positive about the strides. He was looking forward to working with Jordan on the LSU staff as he joins now Wes Johnson along with Jay Johnson, and now Josh Jordan filling out the rest of the staff for LSU baseball. One thing Johnson has done, Jay Johnson, here in the short offseason, as he's worked pretty quickly in replacing these staff members and kind of getting out in front of what he's going to do with this draft class, really on how he's going to anticipate. I thought his message to Gavin Guidry the other night was fantastic.
He just did an open pitch.
Right.
And it was pretty incredible to see that he was obviously working, still whenever we were on the phone, he's so organized. He had his list right there, and we were like, how do you think the upcoming draft will, impact your signing class? He's like, hold on, give me 1 second. Flips through. He's like, well, I'm looking at 5 to 7 names right now that are probably going to go. And then he throws in Gavin Guidry. He goes, and that's the guy that I'd love to build an LSU class around. And we're like, all right, we'll cut that up for him.
Right.
But he mentioned him specifically by name, and so he knows the guys that are probably on the fringe and that he can probably sell LSU a little bit toward and pull on the heartstrings. But we asked him about his recruiting coordinator, and he was like, I've got a couple names in mind, whatever. Next day he has a guy signed. And so he clearly is just going through his list, and he said he was talking about the pitching coach, and he's like, if I wasn't able to get him, I had 2 or 3 more names that were going to be just as good. I had guys lined up, and it's you wouldn't believe the power of what LSU is and how easy it is to sell. And I was like, well, this is you're giving a hard on to every LSU baseball fan right now. You're speaking in their language, the nostalgia of LSU baseball and what it was and what it can be again under Jay Johnson.
Well, I think that with a name like Wes Johnson at the top of the list, you got to anticipate we might swing and miss.
Right. Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You may not be able to get a guy of that caliber, so you have to have at least a short list in order of how you react if Wes Johnson tells you no. And I think,
or doesn't even pick up the phone.
Right. It was. You can hear the reaction from the Major League Baseball world at kind of the fallout of him taking that job. So I'd imagine, when he said yes to Johnson, he was probably even like, damn, we got him. You know what I mean?
Check.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, then he's like, I think I just sent some waves through Major League Baseball. If he, Jay Johnson might have just kind of woke up a sleeping giant a little bit and what other college baseball teams that are in the upper echelon of where kind of LSU sits, of if you have the money, the power, the prestige, then you can go get Major League Baseball guys because it's in some cases it can be a better job. Yeah. It's more money, more time off, and you don't have to grind, 200 days a year. You get 150 days a year maybe, and then the rest of the time you spend with your family. And so that's kind of where Major League Baseball sits with college baseball, and if you're one of those power players in college baseball, you can go get maybe not other teams are going to start trying to maybe take hacks like this.
All right, Katie, we have a Red, Rock, and Blue giveaway.
We do. We have the winner.
And tonight is the concert.
Tonight is at Chelsea's. The the benefit concert. Patrick Balon is the person who gave away the tickets. He's an Army sergeant deployed at the border. And the winner of those 4 tickets, which you can pick up and will call, is Cody Boudreaux.
Wow. All right.
Nice,
Cody
Cody, 4
Boudreaux
tickets.
will have 4 tickets for you tonight at Red Rock and Blue. As Katie said, it's over at Chelsea's. I believe doors open at 7 p.m. For the live event. So if you want to get over there and take part, don't forget you still have an opportunity to buy your tickets online at redrockandblue.com, redrockblue.com. If you want to catch up with the latest from our friend Jacques Doucet and one of his latest in his concert series over with Red Rock and Blue for the summer entertainment here in Baton Rouge. So really excited about tonight and the weekend, and obviously closing out the month will be the annual softball tournament for Red Rock and Blue. So Cody Boudreaux, congratulations, bro.
Yeah.
Get over there and check it out. Remember, Daily, we're brought to you by Cajun Ready Mix Concrete. Our friends over at Cajun Ready Mix Concrete can help you out today with any project that you may have, whether it's residential or municipal. They can help you out. 9 locations, concrete locations and plants around the greater Baton Rouge area, which means if you order concrete, it'll get to you on time and to the exact specification. Remember to find Cajun Ready Mix online at CajunRMC.com. CajunRMC.com is where you find them to get in touch with Cajun Ready Mix Concrete, our friends over there, where they can help you out with just about anything you need from a concrete standpoint, whether it's replacing a couple of areas in your driveway from a residential standpoint, you're building a new house, or if you've got a large project that is commercial or municipal, Cajun Ready Mix Concrete can help you out. So online at CajunRMC.com, CajunRMC.com. LSU football recruiting stays hot. And again, we'll talk to Sam Spiegelman coming up here at 8 o'clock this morning. The latest is Jeremiah Hughes, who is a fast-rising cornerback out of Las Vegas, Bishop Gorman High School, announced on Thursday night he gave his pledge to LSU. He said to 24/7, it was a no-brainer. Who wouldn't want to compete at LSU? It's DBU for me. This is an amazing feeling, and I know it's going to be great for my development to be able to play in a very competitive league. Hughes right now is rated the number 77 rated cornerback and number 7 overall prospect in the state of Nevada for the class of 2023. LSU beat out Arkansas, Washington, and other schools when they were able to get Hughes' announcement. So Hughes is the latest now for LSU to commit to the class. I'll tell you one that we haven't talked about a lot that I thought was a really big pickup and a guy that can really play. And I'm not just saying this because he's from Louisiana, but picking up Xavier Atkins earlier this week. I believe he pledged on Tuesday. I think it was right after the flurry of 4th of July commitments. He's out of Jonesboro, Louisiana. And if you look up his highlights, he's a 3-star, I believe. He may be a 3-star in the services, but when you turn on the film, it don't matter the star ratings. I mean, he's the best football player on the field. And he has that Louisiana mentality that we're talking about, right? I think that this message has become so clouded over the last week where it's now becoming almost like a competition in between the out-of-state and in-state recruits when it shouldn't be. I think every single recruiting class has to have a mix of both local and national talent to be very productive. Or from LSU standpoint, maybe local and regional talent, right? You don't necessarily have to go to Minnesota to get a defensive end, but you may have to go to Miami and grab a 5-star wide receiver like they're set to do, I think, today, when Jaylen Brown is going to announce,
I think at 5 p.m. this afternoon,
his college choice at this evening. Jaylen Brown, it feels like LSU is going to win out there. Cortez Hankton's done a magnificent job of keeping LSU relevant within that recruitment. That's a relationship that he had built from his days at Georgia, kept it going while he was here at LSU, and now it looks like LSU may win out this afternoon with a commitment from a South Miami, from a South Florida 5-star playmaking wide receiver. That's an incredible reach and get, right? You go up to Baltimore and get a guy like Deshaun Womack, a 4-star defensive tackle that everybody in the country was beating down the door for. Deron Reed beating out Ohio State for the Georgia native. Those are big stories in recruiting, right? So, I mean, it's not like if I'm sitting here beating the drum of you got to get the Louisiana kids that you're passing on Womack, Reed, and Brown. I mean, like that's not what I'm saying at all. But the guys that you have to get are guys like Xavier Atkins in Louisiana. Those are the type of ones that you can't let get away. Where, we can debate on wide receivers, right? I mean, Jaylen Brown's a 5-star. Shelton Sampson's a 5-star in Baton Rouge, right here at Catholic High. The difference in them is what? An eyelash of some type of skill set, game-breaking, playmaking opportunity. Say you get them both. You got a local kid, you got a national kid. Great recruiting season for the wide receivers. 2 5-stars, one from South Beach, one from Baton Rouge. You hang your hat on that if you're Cortez Hankton, right? But the players that you have to get in the class, Derek Williams to me is a guy that you got to get if you're LSU. And I know that we've talked about that, and they missed on him, and he's going to Texas. It was a huge miss from my point of view. Xavier Atkins would be the same type of sentiment for me. He's only a 3-star. I know. Louisiana kid. Look at the film. Every game he plays in, he's the best player on the field. Or at least the 3 games that I watched kind of extended cut from of Xavier Atkins, best player on the field, and it's not even close. And he's not the biggest, the strongest, the fastest. He's got the physique. He'll fill out. He looks the part. Absolutely, he'll fill out. He's got more of that to go, but just turn on the film. Mentality's different. He gets to the ball. When he gets there, he's coming to knock your head off. He's letting you know about it. He's got that Louisiana swag to him. To me, he's the type of in-state players that every single recruiting cycle, there's going to be 1 or 2 of them. LSU has to get those guys. It doesn't matter if it's a 5-star like Derek Williams. To me, is kind of being lost in it because I'm saying you got to get a guy like Derek. Well, he's a 5-star. Everybody in the country's coming after him, and they NILs. I don't care. I don't care. When it comes to players like that, you get him. Get him. Same goes for Xavier Atkins. I would put them in the same in the same conversation. Well, he's only a 2-star. I know. Same player, though. Same style of player. Same mentality as a player. You put Derek Williams and Xavier Atkins in a neutral site with a bunch of kids out there, I guarantee you Cream's going to rise to the top, and those two are going to be 2 of the last standing when it's all said and done. Why? Just different down here in Louisiana when it comes to that stuff. That's what I'm saying on that those are the guys you have to get for the locker room's sake, for the mentality's sake, for building the program's sake. Are you going to get every 5-star that comes through Louisiana? Are you going to get every major prospect that the state produces? No, it's never going to happen, and I don't expect it to happen. But one thing that I think there has to be expectation for when talking about LSU football is that you got to get the dogs out of the state. You got to get the ones with the game-changing both mentalities and physical attributes that plays out on the field. And to me, there's only about 2 or 3 of them, 1 or 2 of them every cycle. And you can't miss on them. And in this year's class, I would say that Williams and Atkins, and just watching Atkins, I mean, like when you watch Jaden Alsbury play, to me, like if you're just kind of looking for like comparison or analogies and ways to kind of set this thing up in conversation, to me, like Jaden Alsbury is like a Ferrari. He's like this recruit. When you go watch him play, he glides out there. He's so smooth. Even when he hits you, he comes up and hits you. He doesn't even look like he's even kind of fazed by it. He kind of just runs through you, puts his shoulder down. He's got, you know what I mean? He just looks like a Ferrari out there. Derek Williams and Xavier Atkins are like F-250 trucks. You know what I mean? Where they're just coming in, they're pulling up. They don't really care what they run over. They don't care who they intimidate. They don't care what you think about them. They're just coming to mess some shit up. And they're coming to kind of like establish dominance. 2 totally different styles, both effective in their own rights, both great players in their own rights, right? But Alsbury is more of you've got a special role for him on your defense. Williams and Atkins, Throw them out there. Watch what happens. They'll be around the ball every play. So, I mean, I just that's really where I'm coming from on all of this. You know, I've had so many people come up to me and ask me about what's going on with the recruiting stuff. Like, they're rolling right now. That's non-debatable. It's not up for debate that they are killing it in recruiting right now, crushing it. And to me, the most impressive thing that they've done over the last 5 days, flipping Xavier Atkins here in Louisiana. That's the part that makes me feel the best about what they have going on. Not reaching out and grabbing Minnesota's number one player. That's awesome. Reaching out and grabbing Indiana's number one player. That's great. Beating Ohio State for Deron Reed out of Georgia. Big-time recruiting get. Getting Jaylen Brown, 5-star wide receiver out of Miami. Man, impressive. Getting Xavier Atkins out of Jonesboro Hodge was a must. And the fact you did it, awesome. Those are the types of players every single year in Louisiana's recruiting cycle they're going to give you. They're going to produce that for you. Will Campbell was that guy last year. You know? I mean, like, to give you an idea, Will Campbell's mean, nasty, game-changing guy. He just happened to be a 5-star. For whatever reason, the services haven't gotten to Jonesboro yet and seen Xavier Atkins. I can't wait to talk to Sam Spiegelman coming up here at 8 o'clock just about his evaluation, because when you watch him play, I mean, I was like, 3-star? That guy's a 3-star? No way. Because if some of these guys that I've seen play are 4 and 5 stars, that guy deserves to be in the mix. So,
did he have like 200 tackles his sophomore year?
It's incredible. I'm telling you, every single play he's on the football.
It's unbelievable. Then they put him on offense.
Single play he's on the football, and it's not like
you can't teach that.
No, it's not, and it's not like biggest, strongest, fastest guy.
No,
you know what I mean?
He's
like
just everywhere.
It's not. I'm sure at some point in his life when he was probably in 8th grade, when he was probably like in 6th grade, I'm sure it was like that, where you just pitch him the ball and he'll go 90 yards. You put him
Touchdown.
on defense, he makes every tackle. I'm sure he had points of that in his life. Now the competition, you know, I mean, he's playing North Louisiana schools up there that are very prideful about high school football. I mean, they got a lot of dogs up there too that can play, and now he's got to become a marked man, right? Where, I mean, defense or offenses are planning like you got to block Atkins. I mean, there's multiple, and I was watching it with somebody who really knows how to watch film. I still don't really know how to watch football film. You know what I mean? Like, just the what people are looking for every play and breaking it down. I still get kind of caught up in watching the ball, right? But one thing that I had pointed out to me is like, look how many times he beats the double team. Look how many times they are obviously throwing attention at him to try and take him out of the play, and he just beats people to a spot.
And he's not, and it's not even a 2024. I think isn't that right? I think that's what Hunter Fournette just put in the chat. Like, I think that was
he's 2024.
Yeah, that was his sophomore year.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, when you look at him and you say, oh, he doesn't look like the biggest guy on the field, he's going to, the way he's put together, he's going to pop.
Yeah.
Like, this man is going to be probably 220 pounds, 215 pounds by the time he's ready to go to LSU. And when you commit this early, you always kind of worry about it. But a Jonesboro Hodge kid committing to LSU as a sophomore year sounds pretty much like, this is where I've been wanting to go. I've been waiting for this offer.
Absolutely. And you wrangle up the best players in the state for future cycles. You even if he was to decommit, open it up, you've still got this time period where you've made the impact, where you've got him committed, and you can always go back to that. Right?
You always remember your first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, like kids like Derek Williams, like you never had that opportunity with him. You know, you never had that chance to really
seal the deal.
Recruit that back. So it's a good sign.
I've changed
for LSU football. I look, they're rolling right now. And Jeremiah Hughes pledging last night from Bishop Gorman's a great sign. It looks like Jaylen Brown today is going to pop to him at 5 o'clock this afternoon.
Where's he going?
5-star wide receiver. Huh?
Jaylen Brown.
I think he's going to LSU.
There's mixed reports about him moving his his committed date up. Like, some people thought because of the recent visits that he had just left LSU, so he was going to go there, and then people were like, well, he just left Miami, so they obviously made an impression. So I think it's between LSU and Miami, but a lot of crystal balls are coming in for LSU.
Really? Oh, I've been feeling Miami.
No, I mean that's
Have you?
that's incredible in
You
its
feel
own.
LSU?
That's incredible in its own right. Is that
If he left there? Yeah,
to
I
beat
know.
Miami right now?
Yeah,
because
it
if you
would be
go into
incredible.
Miami and beat them, you're doing something.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, a couple,
yes.
over the last 10 to 15 cycles, they've lost their, they've kind of lost their cachet in recruiting. They've lost their brand. They've lost their punch.
Mm-hmm.
But overnight, with a billionaire booster and a strong commitment to NIL, they're back in the game, right? And even with the NCAA going down there a couple of weeks ago, saying that they were, about to dive into investigating Miami and their recruiting tactics, they're still doing it. They're saying, okay, come on down here. I mean, we'll show you whatever you want, and we'll
Open
comply
up the
to whatever you
books.
need, but we ain't stopping. And to me, I love when Miami's good in college football.
It is
I
fun.
really do. I think that the sport is better when Miami is a top 5, top 10 program. So I hope Miami does get it back for college football's sake. I also hope that LSU can still go into South Beach, into South Miami, into South Florida, and pull 5-star guys. I mean, I'm trying to think. When's the last 5-star? Dwayne Bowe?
Probably. I mean, if you go on like pure Miami, I'd imagine Dwayne Bowe. It's usually like
Allie Highsmith?
yeah.
When
But
was
I'm
that,
thinking
Dwayne
like
Bowe?
skill
07. I
guys.
mean, Dwayne Bowe was 03.
Oh, jeez.
Allie Highsmith was 06.
Those are the last
05.
ones?
I mean, I'm trying to recall high-end Miami recruits, South Florida recruits.
Was John Battle a high recruit?
John Battle, he was a big-time recruit for sure. That LSU was able to go into that part of the country and get.
I mean, Patrick Peterson,
Sure,
Pompano Beach.
sure.
That,
Absolutely.
that was a game
that's-
changer.
that's South
Miami
Florida.
was on the that was on the table.
Yeah, Florida.
Miami,
They really beat Florida. They beat Urban Meyer.
Yeah, Miami, Florida, and LSU weren't they the 3 hats on the table?
Uh-huh.
And yeah, to be able to pull him was almost like I remember watching that recruitment. Like, this is a game changing. If you can get this guy out of Florida, LSU's making a move to do something pretty serious. Like you're capitalizing on all of the things that your former success. If you can, and he came at a time when LSU absolutely needed to have him. Like, we were kind of wavering a little bit, and then it's like, no, LSU still has a little bit of punch in him to go get a 5-star pro. Like, you knew when you saw him play, this man's an NFL player, and LSU was able to pull him out of essentially South Florida and get him to come to LSU, and he started like 3 games into the year. Started his freshman year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wild.
LGZ hashtag Ask Jordy. Do we still question NIL if LSU's able to pull Jaylen Brown from Miami? It's a great question.
That is a good question.
Because I do think that there are examples over the last the last cycle, I think, that you can point to in where LSU made a push on NIL. So, I mean, we don't believe Harold Perkins came to LSU without an NIL deal, right? Especially with who he decommitted from in Texas A&M. So, I mean, I think that there are objectives and plans put in place for certain recruits every year or maybe not every year, because they've only had one cycle where this has been legal. And in that one cycle, the evidence that I take away from it is that they put a couple of NIL deals together for some guys, most notably Harold Perkins being the one that I'm really stressing. But they also missed out on some guys on signing day, so they didn't have a plan in place to collectively, from the collective, go get the recruiting class, right? Like other schools are doing. So I think that, like I said, they're not dead. The NIL stuff is not dead at LSU. They've got a heartbeat, and they've got people that are, trying to put plans in place to make LSU effective in that part of the sport. What they
can't
don't
compete.
have is the whole collective, like A&M, like Alabama, like Texas, that's kind of putting together their money and pooling it every year and saying, hey, look, rather than going after one individual, let's go after 25. And this is how you're going to spread the money out, and this is how you're going to recruit towards it. This is the message. Obviously the Texas A&M recruiting coordinator, whoever that personnel was, in showing them around the state, that's a pitch.
Yeah.
That's not something he just makes up.
Absolutely, that's a
He has
pitch.
said that 150 times,
Yes.
probably that week.
Yeah.
So whatever that message is going to be from the staff to the players on, hey, this is what's going to open up the conversation for you to start talking to those people about business opportunities. Right? I mean,
that's awesome.
All these people. Corn dogs, Jackie. All these people.
Hunter Fournette, the Derek Williams commitment might have jump started the collective a little early. That's the type of stuff that'll happen.
It is.
Marcus Stewart, Jordy, why are you worried about Perkins? Who's worried about Perkins?
What?
Perkins is in the boat. I'm
Yeah.
celebrating Harold
We
Perkins.
already got our perk.
I'm not worried about Harold Perkins. I'm
30.
celebrating Harold
We
Perkins.
should wear 30 for sure. And just make his,
That would
make
be
his
awesome.
last name Perk.
I'm customizing a jersey
Wait, what
to
do
put
you
on the
have?
wall.
Big Perk.
No, perk 30. Well, inside. That's what you took for your neck.
Yeah. Give me two. Hashtag Ask Jordy. When do you think Zalance Hurd is going to commit? I don't know dates. We'll ask Sammy Spiegelman about that coming up at 8 a.m. When he thinks Hurd is the offensive tackle from Neville High School who played opposite Will Campbell last year and really has seen his recruitment over the last couple of weeks and months here really start to explode. I know that LSU feels like they are sitting in a really good place for him after he camped at LSU during June. But I've spoke to Brandon Harris on Texas's staff at the University of Texas. Brandon Harris, the former LSU quarterback, who is camping out in the state of Louisiana now. He has really done bang-up work in getting getting Texas some inroads to Louisiana high school coaches, and in particular, North Louisiana high schools, because of Brandon Harris's allegiance and obviously being from that part of the state. But Harris and Texas feel like they are sitting in the driver's seat. I know I spoke to him over the weekend while I was in Austin, and Hurd's name came up a couple of times on just where they believe they're sitting right now. And for as confident as the staff of who I talked to over at LSU feels like they are on Hurd. And look, I think LSU's probably right to feel the most confident right now. I can tell you Texas feels as confident in kind of what their message is about Hurd and the potential of possibly landing him. So I do know that Brandon Harris is going to be he's going to be a thorn in LSU's side for the next couple of years, or until somebody makes a move on him. Remember, Sean McVay made an aggressive push on trying to hire Brandon Harris to the Los Angeles Rams last year as his quarterbacks coach. Harris is 27 years old when McVay made that phone call. I'd imagine it is tough to turn down Sean McVay at 27 years old if you are in the trade of football coaching. To stay on Texas's staff. Obviously, Sarkisian and the University of Texas officials had to make it worth the while for Harris to stay in Austin.
That's
what the
incredible
hell
that Texas
did they
can punch
do?
in that weight class.
Yes.
Like, I'm sure
Not punch. Knock you out.
To win.
Land the
Knock
punch.
out the
Yeah.
Super Bowl champs.
Right. I'm sure the money wasn't the same. I would imagine that Texas offered more money, but the value of being connected to Sean McVay is worth its weight in gold.
I know.
Every coach that's even sniffed his underwear is getting a job in the NFL. So I'd imagine that
Ew.
that was Brandon Harris. Well, anybody that's close to him, if you were at a pool party next to him, oh, you coached
Yeah.
with Sean McVay?
Yeah.
I'll hire
The
him.
Yeah.
get back coach is getting the job.
It's unbelievable. And so for him to be turned down basically a career-making opportunity to stay at Texas is
What did they
The-
offer?
Yeah.
If Brandon Harris decides he wants to be a head football coach in college, he will be unstoppable. If his career
He ain't coming here.
If his career trajectory continues on the path that it's on, and he can stay, there's a lot of temptation for a young coach, right? For somebody that's in Austin, that's got the pay
Keys to
that
the car.
the pay that he's making. He got no wife, he got no kids, But if he can stay on the trajectory he's on, he's got the smile, he's got the
can
gab,
talk it,
he
yeah.
can talk it, and he's got the experience. He's got the history of it, which I believe means that there's only so many Will Wade and Urban Meyers, guys that did not play the sport at all, that can make it nearly to the top, right? In Urban Meyer's case, make it to the top. There's not as many that you can find that don't play at the high level, or at least the collegiate level, that can make it to that time in the sport, right? Even like Sean McVay. I mean, McVay was a baller at a low college in Georgia, but he didn't play pro ball, and to see the success that he's having in the NFL, it's rare to see that. Sean Payton is kind of an outlier when it comes to that.
He played safety and
no, he was a quarterback at Washington at Eastern Illinois.
Yeah.
Wherever Tony Romo went. Wherever Tony Romo went, and then he was a scab. He was a replacement. When the lockout happened in '87, Sean Payton was the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears.
Keanu Reeves.
Right, exactly. I mean, he was the lockout quarterback. So, but then he elevated himself to probably the best play caller in the world. You know what I mean, like the most creative offensive mind.
Sean McVay, same thing.
And it doesn't always work out like that. I mean, like Magic Johnson was a terrible basketball coach. You know what I mean? Michael Jordan's not that good of an owner. You know what I mean? Where you see guys like Steve Kerr, who was kind of a role player his entire life, going down as maybe, he's kind of making himself
rings.
He's kind of elbowing his way up to the table as, one of the top coaches in the NBA over the last, 50 years. So, I mean, it doesn't always work out like that, but my point being is that Brandon Harris is going to be an issue for LSU and for other schools, but particular LSU because of his comfort level in Louisiana, his relationships and high school coaches that he knows in the state of Louisiana, and now he's recruiting with the NIL pitch on his Texas back. I mean, remember, every Texas offensive lineman that's on scholarship is getting a minimum of $50,000 from a collective in Austin. That's got to be pretty easy to recruit to Lance Hurd, who's the top offensive lineman in the state of Louisiana, that's not necessarily locked into going to LSU. He doesn't saying to himself, like Will Campbell, I could have been the coach at LSU and he was coming here. You know what I mean? Like, they could have hired me, and he was still coming to LSU.
Should have brought Curly Hallman back.
Probably. And he was still coming to LSU. I think Lance Hurd has kind of made the feeling like, I don't have to go to LSU. I mean, I'm not locked. I'd love to. You know what I mean? But I'm listening. And if Texas is paying, they're going to pay me minimum $50K just to sign. Just because I'm on scholarship, I get $50K. And I'm probably going to turn out to be a player, so I'm going to make more than that. You got to listen.
What do you think Brandon Harris thinks of his time at LSU?
I'm sure he hates Les Miles.
You think he does hate him?
I mean,
well,
I don't know that.
I
don't want to say that because I do know.
No, obviously speculative.
And Brandon and I are friends, but we've never had that. And I would just speculate and say that he did just because of the mismanagement. Of him.
And that's what I'm wondering if he considers like LSU, like not only like he wants to be a thorn in LSU's side, like if he's. Like,
I'd imagine so.
Like spite.
Yeah.
Because the fan base may have done that to it also.
Right.
Oh no, he was treated like. It was unbelievable the fact that if there had been the transfer portal, I'd have hopped in that thing so fast. He never had a chance.
Katie, he would come out like as the starting quarterback. They would announce him and they would boo him.
They would boo this man.
They would boo him every time. Every time Brandon Harris was a
LSU
starter,
was
they would
struggling.
boo him. Well, I mean, Les Miles was his coach.
Yeah.
That's why.
Not only that,
he was in an antiquated system.
It was a perfect storm of. Like Cameron was his offensive coordinator.
Right.
Les Miles was his head coach. They just were so
behind
and unprepared. And I mean, I would say Harris is probably before this recruiting cycle where you had Holstein, Arch, and Ricky, and even Walker last season. I mean, Brandon Harris was
the
one
savior,
of the best quarterbacks to come through this state.
His high school tape is unbelievable.
It's stupid.
He could spin it.
If you've ever seen him just pick up a ball and throw it, you're like, oh my God.
So what happened?
The offense got his ass.
Yeah, I mean, he played too young. Mm-hmm. First off, like that. See, like this is what goes into the natural evolution or the natural progression of a quarterback. Like the way that they handled Garrett Nussmeier is the first time I've seen LSU handle the quarterback situation with any competence since Jamarcus, Matt Flynn, and Ryan Perrilloux, because they've always been in a savior mode. Mm-hmm. They've always been in, hey, if you go get a 5-star kid like Jarrett Lee out of Texas,
we have to play him.
And you've thrown Ryan Perrilloux off the team and you're playing a transfer from Harvard and that kid gets killed at Auburn, you got to put the freshman in. You know what I mean? Like, you got to put this 18-year-old kid in who's not prepared for this moment. He's not ready to go do this. And if you can cut someone's teeth like you did with Garrett Nussmeier, where you give Nussmeier reps, you give him real game situations, you even give him a week to prepare for an SEC opponent like he started against Arkansas. Did he start against Arkansas?
No,
They pulled him after
Max
the first
Johnson,
series.
Yeah.
Did he start the next? He started an SEC game.
He started the next series.
No doubt. No, I remember that. But, I mean, he's seen just about everything that you can see up close and still a redshirt freshman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you didn't kill his confidence.
You didn't ruin him.
You didn't ruin him. They ruined Jarrett Lee. They ruined Brandon Harris.
Auburn.
I was on the sideline
Whoa.
the night at Auburn that Brandon Harris started his first game as a true
At
freshman.
Auburn at night.
At Auburn
You were on the
at
sideline
night.
at
It was
that?
the weekend after LSU that Dak
Mississippi
beat
State.
Yeah,
LSU.
yeah.
They put Brandon Harris into that game in the second half, and they nearly came back and won.
A Hail
They
Mary
almost
away.
that's one of the storylines in that game that people forget. LSU almost won that game because of Malachi Dupree and Brandon Harris. They were like just backyard balling out there, just throwing the ball
Throw
up
it
for
up.
in the air, and Malachi's out jumping everybody. Brandon Harris is out throwing everybody. And even when you were watching it, you were like, this shit ain't gonna play.
Wait,
You know what I mean?
this can't happen.
This ain't gonna happen. You can't do this every week. I mean, was Will Muschamp the defensive coordinator at Auburn during that time, I believe? I mean, you gave him a week to look at Brandon Harris on film. By the time Harris showed up to Jordan Hare, he was a sitting duck.
They sent 11 at him.
Lyle Collins came off the field, opening possession of LSU's game. I'm standing, like Les Miles is probably standing where Lloyd is compared to where I am on the sideline. I'm standing right here, got camera, video in the game, and Lyle Collins is walking off the field, and he unsnaps his helmet and throws it down from the face mask, and his helmet explodes on the sideline. Ear pads come out. The foam inside comes rolling out. His mouthpiece is rolling up, and he screams out loud, "This motherfucker's calling plays that we don't even have." Talking about Brandon Harris. And Harris, and on the sideline, Leonard Fournette tells Frank Wilson he called one of his high school plays.
Really?
Like, he's so nervous.
Yeah.
His ass is like a sewing pin. You know what I mean? Like, he's so tight. They've got 90,000 raining down on him. It's on national television. Auburn is busting at the seams. They're foaming at the mouth to get to this kid.
Gladiator.
You know what I mean? Like,
scenario.
they know he is just
Terrifying.
meat. Like, I mean, just
Oh, God.
sitting in the middle of a field, like, just, he's dead man walking. He got no shot. And what they did to his confidence
Yeah.
after that night was a lot like what they did to Jarrett Lee. Like, you could see signs of, like, Jarrett Lee was leading the SEC, was leading the country in passing efficiency through 6 games his senior year. Gave you an idea. Like, this kid can play.
Yeah.
Like, this cat can go.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, even Brandon Harris the week before that showed you, this dude's legit.
Get all the
You
talent
know what
in
I
the
mean?
world.
But you can't start him at Auburn.
At night.
You can't start Jarrett Lee against Alabama
Yeah.
at 18. This kid's going to, I mean, you might lose him. You know, I mean, you might break him.
Yeah.
He may never be the same. And, you know, I mean, you credit a kid like Lee, Jarrett Lee, and even a guy like Brandon Harris, who they figured it out. You know what I mean? Like, they naturally, they were too good of football players not to get it, but it set them back
Yeah, I bet it
so
did.
much that they never were able to reach their potential. You know what I mean? Like, a kid like Walker Howard, you get him over under 75 snaps this year,
Under.
that's fine with me. But you give him 75 meaningful snaps as a freshman where you're able to procure his red shirt, you're able to get him some real life moments, let him play on Saturday night in Tiger Stadium, let him play if you're down or up on the road a series or two just to get an idea of what it's like to take the field at, you know, Florida, wherever you may be. And you let him maybe play 3/4 of a non-conference game, right? Where he goes out there and he feels like high school again, where he's just throwing the ball around and he's one of the best players on the field. And then you put him on the shelf for the summer, and now Walker Howard's kind of walking around campus like, I can do this.
This college thing's
You know
kind
what
of
I mean?
easy.
Like, I got this. I mean, I've traveled
People
now.
start saying
I don't
your
have
name.
I don't have to worry about like showing like, I mean, Brandon, that was the first time Brandon Harris had ever seen Auburn.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? Like, that was probably the first time as a college football player, it was that he had ever traveled to a road SEC venue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he had never even known what it's like to fly on a plane with LSU
Right.
to go play a road game. He's 18, flying on the plane for the first time, going to an SEC venue as the starter. Like, that ain't fair.
No, it's not.
That's not fair.
And they announced him on like a Monday or Tuesday. Like, he didn't even keep it in his back pocket. Like, Les told the world that he was that
You're gonna go with
that
the freshman.
that Brandon Harris is going to start.
Right.
And you're just like, don't do this to this kid. Like, I knew that, and I was 19 years old. I was like, you can't expect anything from Brandon Harris and him to go into Auburn as a freshman. Like, oh, let's see what he's got. Like, this is not the time to play that card. Like, what happened at Mississippi State is an outlier because you're already down. You're
Sure.
like, you got a whole big old case of the fuckets.
Right.
Like, who cares?
See, like, to what happened there was Mississippi State game planned for who? Anthony Jennings? Jesus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, they're sitting there thinking, like, they can't throw it.
Yeah.
So put all the safeties up in the box. We'll play 8 yards away from the line of scrimmage, and we'll just stop Fournette all night. And when we do that, we'll beat their ass. Well, then you put this kid in the game, and you're like, oh, my God, he's got an arm. And then they got players like Malachi Dupree that can run past our cornerbacks. Like, we're not ready for this.
Yeah.
You know, like, we're adjusting in the game. Like, hey, scratch everything we practiced this week and what we've been playing for 3 quarters, and now we got to start playing like cover 2. We got to start like playing deep pass. People got to guard you got to get back. Don't get beat deep. And Harris is just like flicking his wrist. You know what I mean?
60.
Like throwing it over everybody. Malachi's jumping over everybody, and like, you know, Mississippi State panicking. I think the game was 7 points.
It was, and
I
Brandon
remember the game.
Brandon Harris threw a Hail Mary in the end zone and had a chance to tie it up at the end of regulation.
Right.
And knocked it down from I think that's what I remember.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because I was at that game.
Me too.
And I was
Me
just
too.
like,
It's like this is incredible. Like they might win.
yeah, because I didn't leave. I was like, oh, Brandon Harris is coming in. Let's at least watch.
They took Dak out
Yeah.
and put him back in.
Yeah.
Like, I think that they were
is
like,
what happened.
oh shit.
It was like 34-7 or something like that. It was, what's the score over there?
34-10.
34-10. Ooh, could it be close?
Yeah,
What was the final?
That was close.
No, that's what it is right now. He's watching the game. And Brandon Harris isn't in yet, I don't think.
I mean,
Final was 34-29.
they could have won.
shit, I mean, so if he catches it at the
It's
end,
a
they
game.
do win.
Yes. Oh my God.
That's sad. I feel so bad for him.
You
Well,
should-
I
that's-
feel bad for him now.
No,
You know what I mean?
trust
Like,
me,
he's
he
getting
put-
it back.
No,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's awful to go through that.
Yeah.
That's really awful.
Oh, you should have seen him on campus.
Could you imagine that being
He'd
your
be
son?
like-
No, I couldn't.
Could you imagine
That's
that being your
awful.
kid? Could you
No.
imagine Les Miles and Cam Cameron sitting in your living room for the previous 2 years telling you and promising you how much they're going to take care of your kid, how much they're going to make sure that nothing happens to him outside of your house, everything, and like the part that you're most secure with that, I'd imagine, is like the football part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, protect my
Well,
kid.
yeah.
Like, when he's away from the facility, coach, can you promise me that he's going to be protected, that he's going to be safe? I promise you, ma'am.
Right.
I promise you. I give you my word that he will not get in any type of trouble or nothing's going to happen to him if I can control it. Right? Perfect. I don't have to ask you about how you're going to manage him on the football field, do I? Like,
Right.
you've been doing this for 30 years, Les.
Exactly.
You know, like, you're not going to screw him up
Yeah.
by like mismanaging the kid and like putting him out there before he's ready, right? Like, when I guess you probably should have, because of the Jarrett Lee example, right? Because there was, you know, in comparison's sake, Brandon Harris felt a lot like Jarrett Lee,
Right.
where you were able to go and get this elite quarterback that comes in, and the guy in front of him is not. You know, you feel like you should be playing Lee. It feels like you should be playing Harris because they're just more talented than the guy in front of them, but you couldn't develop them. Like Miles and Cameron, they couldn't develop a quarterback to save their life. Like, I mean, Jamarcus Russell had to show up. Matt Flynn had to be here. I mean, those guys, they were self-made almost. It
Right.
wasn't as if, or they had some Jimbo Fisher teaching in them that really kind of carried them through, right? The college level. I mean, Les Miles with a quarterback would be like, I mean, you know, giving you the Quran and saying, read it for me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. You know what I mean? Like, this looks like hieroglyphics. I mean, I don't even know what you're doing. So, I mean, you ask Les Miles, hey, develop a quarterback for us. I mean, you might as well ask him to recite the alphabet backwards. You might as well ask him to
So
spell his
sad.
name. Complete a sentence, Les. You know what I mean? There's a challenge for it.
Had the one.
I like my team. Oh, do you? Thanks.
You want to go to Voodoo
You
Barbecue?
prick.
Do you have the want for Voodoo Barbecue? The
Ugh.
chest for Voodoo Barbecue.
You gotta have the chest.
Never forget when he introduced Cam Cameron at his opening press conference. The first line out of Miles' of his mouth was that I stood in this guy's wedding. He stood in mine. Like, oh really? You're paying him $2 million now to call plays? Is that all it takes?
Oh, brother-in-law in it.
Yeah, just a frat up in here.
Yeah, this will go well.
Yeah, just everybody reminiscing.
And the
Why
sad
did
thing
the fans
was,
hate Brandon Harris then? If this was Les Miles' fault,
Well,
why
because
was
people
fans
loved
can't-
people loved Les.
Fans can't get out of what they see.
Yeah.
Like, fans react to what they're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see Brandon Harris running for his life and just throwing the ball up in the air, you're like, this kid sucks.
Yeah.
What's he doing?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then you come to find out he's calling high school plays on the road against Auburn when he's like, he don't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's unfair to ask him to go out there and go beat Auburn, son.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Game's
Like,
yours.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, welcome to college football. We got to have you to win. Like, no, Les, that's on you for mismanaging the program. Play the walk on, you dickhead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, go lose your job, right? Rather than screwing this kid's confidence up and wrecking him for the next 2 years.
So people just didn't realize it.
Oh, I mean, I think that they
There's a sect of people that definitely saw
it
it.
does. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? But 90,000 in the moment at the game
Right.
in the stadium looking at it, you're not saying, oh, well, Les, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Les doesn't have
18 whiskey and cokes in. Like, oh, get this. Oh, he stinks.
Yeah. Right.
Get this man on my game.
Yeah.
Right.
Got Sammy.
Well, that's sad. What a sad story. I feel bad for him. For Brandon.
Again, don't feel bad for him now.
I know, but that's really unfortunate. That's a hard story. That's hard.
Well, yeah, he thinks about it every day, I'm sure, before he goes into LSU and
Yeah, I bet.
picks everybody he wants to come to Texas.
bet.
That's what
I
I'm saying.
bet
He'll
he
never
does.
coach at LSU. He ain't coming back.
You don't think so?
Well,
No.
I don't know if you can say that definitively in the coaching fraternity because the coaching gets to a point where you're like, hey, man, I need a job.
Well, I
You know
think
what I mean?
he's going to have his choice.
Sure, right now he does.
Yeah.
You know, but coaching
Yeah, it's
is
serpentines.
a windy
Yeah.
road. You know what I mean?
A lot of peaks and valleys.
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
It's different when you're 43 in the game rather than when you're 26, 27. You know what I mean? Like,
But that's just the way that college coaching and NFL coaching is trending. Like, the younger guy is who they're looking for. Like, you get opportunities
Yeah,
younger,
it is.
as you say with the Sean McVay. Like, look at the coaching fraternity and the elite coaches in the league. They're all in their, I would say, like mid 30s to 40s. It's not the 55, 60-year-old man on the sidelines really anymore.
right.
So he's going to have.
It's Joe Sloan.
The younger it trends, the more
Yeah.
opportunities you're going to have with younger guys.
Like Joe Sloan probably is at the peak of both mental and physical coaching abilities. Like Sloan still has the youth where he can get out there and still kind of act it out. You know what I mean? He can still pop you in
Wakes
the
up
chest.
every day and feels good.
You know what I mean? He can still run around with
Right.
you out there. He can still, like, hey, watch out. This is what it needs to look like. Catch a snap and throw an out route.
And
Like Jimbo Fisher can't do that anymore.
Ah,
But he could when he was coaching Jamarcus and Rohan.
right. And
Like when he was out there, he'd shove Rohan in the chest. Let me get out the way, you big fucker. Let me show you how to do it. You know what I mean? That's how he probably treated Rohan. That's why they're so close to it because they were more like brothers than they were coach pupil, right? With
we're throwing the ball together.
like with Denbrock and Miles Brennan. I mean, that's coach pupil. But like the thing that's most impressive to me about Denbrock is that he still kind of has that personality to you where he can get out there and rib you and make you laugh and kind of keep that young youth coaching style. He can't get out there and give you a 5-step drop and show you what it needs to look like when firing out an out route, right? But he can make a joke to
I like this guy.
make you understand, like he gets it.
Yeah.
He knows what he's talking about.
And if Sloan plays his cards right, he can ride this Walker Howard train. If he does
Oh,
it
man.
correctly, he'll have his pick of the litter of what jobs he wants after. You'll have to kind of fight to keep him.
That's the recipe in college football.
Absolutely.
That's how it works. I mean, if you're a quarterback's coach, if you're an offensive, quality control guy like Brandon Harris is at Texas, and you bring in say Quinn Ewers goes in next year and rewrites Texas's single season record books for passing, be 2 or 3 guys on the offensive side of Texas's ball that gets a coaching job. Maybe an elevated job. Maybe Brandon Harris is the quarterback's job. Gets a quarterback's coaching job at somebody else.
For Arch.
Anywhere. I mean, Harris had a big, he was big on the Arch recruitment. He was big on the relationship building process. I'm telling you, he's doing the right thing. Like, he's in the right position of where he needs to be from a just from a trade standpoint, from a working standpoint. He's going to be fantastic. He is fantastic. He's going to continue to be great at that. LSU's doing bang up work in recruiting. I don't want to lose the message of, that's where we were. LSU's cleaning up right now. Speaking of it, Sammy Spiegelman is already there, and let's go to Spiegs. I believe he's up in New York this morning as he checks in with us here on this Friday. Sammy, good morning. How are you, man?
Doing great, Jordy. How you doing?
Doing good, man. If you could, somebody who covers this part of football, wrap up what the last week has been like for LSU. It has been a flurry of commitments and big-time names coming through as commits. That feels like it started on July 1st and has continued through last night. What do you make of the last week LSU has had?
It's just that time of the year. I think everyone's getting excited, and I think everyone just kind of forgets that this is the summer. This is what happens in the summer. And nowadays, camp season is always, prolific for commitments. You get a bunch of kids on campus for the first time. A lot of kids that got offered in the spring or are now on their second or third visits to school. And then you have camp season. You have official visits going on during camp season. So these are turning into just monster weekends. For LSU in particular, they had a couple of big official visit weekends in June, and you're starting to see the fruits of those visits. July 4th is it's almost as busy as the early signing period if you really think about it. You have double-digit commitments, and they're all getting ready to go back to school in a couple of weeks, or maybe take one more visit and then make a decision before their senior season. So it's just that time of the year, and LSU is capitalizing off of all that.
Jeremiah Hughes, the latest, a cornerback commitment from Bishop Gorman in Vegas. He pledged last night to LSU. What do you know about him, and how big is this commitment for the class?
Hey, I really like this kid. I'm not going to talk about the on-3 rankings as being underrated, but he's a kid that I think by the end of his senior season is going to have a stock up. I got to see him out in Las Vegas a couple of months ago, and he's about 6'2", 180 plus pounds. He moves really naturally. I think he's a little bit raw, and I think he needs a little bit of coaching. Develop, see if he can get his hips out a little bit better. He's got a little bit to go, but physically he stands out. I think he plays receiver and DB for Bishop Gorman, one of the top powerhouses in the high school level in the country. He plays on the same team as Zachariah Branch and gets to defend him every single day. So I think he's going to get better, and he's going to go to LSU and continue to develop. I think he's a little bit raw at this stage. Maybe he's a little bit underrated, but he's someone that, going to work with Robert Steeples and be a big corner. Work on the boundary, and that's an area of need for LSU in this 2023 cycle. A
guy who we talked about the last time we talked, LSU was just finishing up one of their camps on campus in the month of June, and Lance Hurd from Neville really shined, and I think the trend started to point towards LSU. I spoke with a University of Texas a staffer, Brandon Harris, former LSU quarterback, over the weekend, and he says they feel real good about where they sit with Hurd. What's the latest on Hurd, and when do you expect his announcement?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Brandon Harris, and I obviously took in part of what you were saying, and he's doing great at Texas, and he's a big reason why Texas is in the mix or has commitments from so many elite guys from Louisiana right now. Lance Hurd did not show up for his Texas official visit, which is probably the most interesting tidbit I can share with you. He did make it to Nebraska, and then he worked out at LSU, and he ended up staying for an unofficial visit for the entire weekend of LSU's elite camp. Right now, I already have an RPM for LSU. I think my colleague Billy does as well. And right now, it's all LSU. Brad Davis has always had the in with LSU. And you talked about him before. Mike Denbrock has spent a lot of time with Lance Hurd, talking about him being a franchise left tackle playing opposite of Will. And right now, I would say it's a matter of if, not when Lance Hurd commits to LSU. Texas is certainly in it. They have been in it for a good amount of time. Bo Davis was leading that recruitment. But since Lance has kind of settled on the offensive side of the ball, sees his future at tackle, I think LSU has been the team to beat since they finally got him on campus in June.
Jaylen Brown, that's great news, by the way, on Hurd. Jaylen Brown, 5-star wide receiver out of South Florida, is set to pledge and make his commitment this afternoon. LSU seems to be a school that is trending there, even with hometown Miami making a push for him to get on campus. What have you heard of Brown's recruitment? What do you expect this afternoon?
Yeah, I put my prediction in again last month for LSU, and that seemed like a little bit of a dark horse pick at the time. And, I say this now, I'm still fairly confident in that. LSU has done a fantastic job of this is really a Brian Kelly and a Cortez Hankton tandem. Brian Kelly had Notre Dame in the mix with Jalen. And then Cortez Hankton had Georgia as a leader with Jalen at a certain point in his recruitment. And they met up at LSU, and the Graduate Champions logo is prominent with Jalen. He's been to Michigan, he's been to Texas, and Miami is probably the team pushing LSU the hardest as crunch time gets closer. But all things considered, he's putting academics over football. And the Graduate Champions logo is what I keep hearing is probably the biggest difference between LSU and Miami now. Miami is rolling on the recruiting trail just like LSU right now. They got Jaden Rashada and Francis Malaga, the 5-star offensive tackle from IMG. NIL, if that is certainly a factor down the stretch. We'll see if Miami can make this a little bit more interesting toward the end. But right now, all signs point to LSU, and that's a credit really to Coach Hankton, who's had him on campus, I think, more than any other school, along with Florida State and Miami, which is pretty significant considering it's LSU for a Miami kid.
Sammy, how much does NIL come into the pitch?
You have to think about it. These kids are name, image, likeness. They represent what that means, right? So they're talking about life-changing money in certain situations. If you are if you're a kid that's looking out of state, NIL gives you the opportunity for not only you, but maybe your family to attend more games than they would have otherwise. And then in state, obviously opportunities not only while you're playing, but after football comes into play. So it's a huge factor. It's almost like NFL free agency at this point between the transfer portal and NIL and just regular signing classes. There's so many different elements to adjust your roster. You talk about LSU or Ohio State or any one of these schools. They're running NFL front offices at this stage.
Yeah. No, Matt House came into the studio a couple of weeks back, and we asked him about the resources compared to a big-time school like LSU and coming from the Kansas City Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl 3 years ago. And he said that they had more resources at LSU, and it wasn't even close. This from like departments and nutrition and rehab and everything that they have at their disposal. It's greater at LSU. We have a question from a listener. John Quav asked specifically about Chase Bisontis, who is from New Jersey. Is it Bisontis? The offensive line, Bisontis, who was on an official visit to LSU a couple of weeks back. But more on the offensive line in this class. I know we talked about Hurd, but how many other targets? What do you expect from a commitment standpoint on offensive line for LSU during this cycle?
Yeah, another kid that was on campus with Hurd during the elite camp was Dellinger. His brother's obviously on the roster, and he's set to commit sometime today. And I think all the tea leaves are pointing to Michigan State, which just got a huge commitment yesterday, thanks to a Louisiana guy and Brandon Jordan and Mel Tucker. But all things considered, offensive line, it seems like every year we talk about this. LSU's in a great spot with Lance Hurd, who's a future first-round pick, as we've talked about. But the rest of the offensive line remains in flux. That's going to be a big target for them. Going into the season, they got guys like Chase Bisontis and TJ Shanahan, and I think that LSU right now might be trailing for both, but they have plenty of time, I think, to gain ground and offensive line, especially on the interior. If you're going to be able to reel in a guy like Hurd, but he's able to do, you need to find some guys to plug in on the inside, and obviously you got great guys last year like Will Campbell and Emory Jones and Bo Bordelon, but they need to continue to supplant that, and I think that they got a long ways to go. They might have to turn in state on a couple of guys, the Caden Jones from De La Salle, Tyree Adams from St. Aug. There's other guys. Now, those are true tackles. But if you're LSU, you got to take what you can get, and it's just not a deep O-line class in the state or in the area this year.
That was harassment on that name that I
did. He
was,
butchered it. And he didn't even know what to say.
That was an assault.
I'm not going to correct him. I'm just
on
going to say
Bisontis, his last name, who turned out to be Bacintis. My bad, Chase. I'll just go Chase B next time.
Very phonetic of you.
Sammy, I'm getting also
Country
dragged.
origin,
I'm getting dragged for a couple of takes that I had with national versus local recruiting for LSU, saying that LSU really needs to build defense around the state, obviously, and that the nucleus of all the championship teams have always been Louisiana guys. Obviously, they are dominating right now outside of the state. How do you see the balance kind of breaking down with Kelly and his staff?
They have the staff that's equipped to go national, and they have a staff that's very equipped to get the elite guys in the state of Louisiana. Now, this is a very unique cycle, this 2023 class. Arch Manning is at the top of it. Arch was not going to go to LSU, and I think it's actually a pretty impressive feat that LSU was as far along with Arch when it was all said and done before he ultimately picked Texas over Georgia and Alabama. And then you have unique situations where there's 3 quarterbacks and they're all committed to different schools out of state. And I don't expect that to be the situation in a couple of months. But for right now, a lot of the elite guys in state have either not made their decision or they found their home. You're not going to get everybody, but this staff is fully equipped to go out of state. Sure, you got guys like Brad Davis, who's homegrown, Baton Rouge. Frank Wilson is the godfather of Louisiana. Joe Sloan is one of the young, youthful, energetic coaches that has gravitated on the offensive side of the ball, has national appeal. And Cortez Hankton, who, he's from New Orleans, he's from St. Aug, he recruits New Orleans, he recruits the state, but he's coming off a national championship at Georgia, and that's going to help with guys like Jalen Brown, who's set to announce in a few hours. So they have the ability. They have commitments from all over the Midwest at edge and D-line, which is just not a strong suit in Louisiana this year. So, you can always have the argument that, LSU has to go from in-state first, and I certainly agree with that. There's plenty of talent on a year in, year out basis. But at certain positions, it's just a little bit thinner in 2023 and deeper at others, like quarterback. They're deep at quarterback. That's not usually the case. And they're weak at D-line, which is usually not the case.
Right.
So they've gone to the Midwest. They've gone into Maryland. They've gone into Georgia. They beat out Ohio State and Georgia for a D-lineman. They got the number 1 players from Minnesota and Indiana, which is just insane to even say out loud sometimes. And they're still recruiting Louisiana. Guys like Shelton Sampson and Lance Hurd and Caleb Jackson and Kylan Jackson. There's still a lot of big guys on the board that are in state. And sure, if LSU is going to go to a national championship, they're going to have plenty of in-state flavor. But each cycle is just different, and the staff is attacking accordingly.
I know that they have a long way before this one gets on campus in Xavier Atkins, but the commitment came through in the 2024 pledge earlier this week. Sammy, I thought I read it wrong when I saw that he had 200 tackles last year. I mean, how good of a football player is this kid?
Yeah, the two outside linebackers. You talk about positions of strength in Louisiana. The 2 for 2024, Xavier Atkins and Kalaj Cobbins out of Destrehan, and the 2 of them put up video game like numbers, especially Xavier out of Jonesboro Hodge, which is obviously, you guys know, it's not exactly in the Baton Rouge or New Orleans area where he's getting a ton of pub, but he's been a major LSU target since the middle of his sophomore season. Puts up video game numbers. He's a little bit raw. He's got range though. He's all the physical attributes that you love to see from an outside linebacker: speed, explosiveness, range, sideline to sideline. And he, getting the 2024 class on board early on, you're starting to see, everyone pays attention to the 2023 class, but during the summer months and leading into the season, they're starting to build their foundation for the 2024 class. And, ultimately, Xavier Atkins and Maurice Williams, those 2 that they got in 2024, are going to be representing LSU on the recruiting trail with a lot of the in-state guys for 2024 that we're going to start talking about here in the next couple of months. So Xavier is going to end up being probably a fan favorite of these LSU fans. He's an outward fan of LSU. I think he's been waiting to commit for some time. He was recruited by Blake Baker at Missouri, who was just on LSU staff, obviously. So you knew that it was going to come eventually. He's a really great foundational piece early on for LSU on defense.
Cordell Music, hashtag Ask Speaks. Any word on the linebacker Justin Jefferson?
Yeah, I think he might have just committed to Ohio State.
Oh, wow! Sorry about that.
I'm pretty sure that was last week.
But today should be a very active day for LSU, correct? Or at least hats on the table for LSU.
Yeah, I like where LSU stands with Jalen Brown. I think it's a little bit of a dark horse pick, and obviously with the hometown school, as you guys well know about LSU and in-state kids, same with Miami and their in-state kids. If LSU is able to get a commitment today, which I expect them to do, the biggest thing will be continuing to recruit him during the season. At Miami, we'll be able to get him on campus easier. But he's taken his official visit to LSU, and now he's been to LSU more than any other school. The key will be keeping that momentum into the season, and obviously a lot of that is how Mario Cristobal's Miami Hurricanes play and Brian Kelly's Tigers play.
Sammy, one more. Jordan Matthews. It seems like obviously the news came out with his official visit list. LSU wasn't on it. That kind of kicked up a cloud here locally. Where do you stand on his recruitment? What do you expect from him over the next couple of weeks?
He just got back from 3 official visits. He went to Stanford, to Michigan, and Tennessee. And next up, he's going to head back to Austin. You talked about Brandon Harris. This is a guy that Brandon's been recruiting for years. He's going to be back at Texas at the end of this month. And there's obviously a lot of momentum for Louisiana guys in Austin right now with Derek Williams, the Raptor, committed, and Arch committed. And then Texas is certainly going to try to get one out of Jordan. Jordan's hoping to have a decision made before Woodlawn kicks off their season. But he has openly said he's not going to rush his decision, and I don't think that he needs to. Pete Golding offered after the spring game, and Alabama has certainly gotten his attention as well. And LSU reaffirmed their offer. He worked out and got the offer. Steeples, Jordan Arseman, Joe Sloan, Frank Wilson, the whole gang of in-state recruiters are all after Jordan. I think they kind of realized that they were playing from behind and they got a ways to go. But they're not going to take their foot off the gas. And I think for LSU's purposes, the longer Jordan waits to commit works in their favor. Right now, they have some ground to make up just because he has got a lot of great options. And he's been to Texas, I think, more than any other school. And he's got a lot of interest in Alabama, and he's going to OV there for the season opener. Again, longer it goes, longer LSU has a chance to make up with Jordan, but they are playing from behind.
I'm going to rapid fire you a couple of names real quick if you can help me out on them. Kylan Jackson, Zachary.
I think it's between LSU and A&M. He's going to try to see some schools like Oregon and Michigan, but I think ultimately, if not August, maybe by September, he has a decision made. I like LSU slightly over A&M.
Caleb Jackson, running back out of Liberty here in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, just took all 3 of his official visits. He's on the clock. A decision is expected here sometime in the next couple of weeks. I like LSU's chances. Frank Wilson has dialed it up in a big-time way for this kid, and he reminds me of Jonathan Taylor 2.0.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Tackett Curtis out of Manny High School.
Also a kid on the clock, took official visits to USC, to Wisconsin, and Ohio State. Depending on who you talk to, some people will point to Wisconsin, some people will talk to Ohio State. I think Ohio State ultimately wins out, and I think right now it's too close to call, but I think ultimately they win out.
Shelton Sampson.
I think he ultimately winds up at LSU. I think Florida State might actually be the team that's running second for him. People think it might be A&M. People think it might be Alabama. But that relationship with Coach Fertitta and the trust that his parents have in Florida State is giving LSU a little bit of a run for their money. But I think Shelton ultimately winds up at LSU. I think he's going to be one of those prize pieces in this class. And I think a decision may be sooner than expected. I don't think this is going to go all the way to signing day. I think it'll be before then.
Sammy, are you home in New York? Is this where you're from originally?
Originally, yes. Have not been home in some time, but just checking on my niece. She just turned 2 months.
Oh, wow. Congratulations. What part of the state?
Long Island.
Hey,
that makes a lot
watch
of
yourself
sense.
this weekend, Sammy. Later, bro. When you come through Baton Rouge, you got to get you in studio.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna hit you up about it.
All right, man. There he is. At Sam Spiegs. Follow him on social media. Sammy Spiegelman from On 3. Up in New York, visiting family, giving us a little rapid fire on recruiting information on where they sit now. Justin Jefferson, the linebacker that we asked him about, committed to Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About a week ago.
Did he?
Is that what he said? Is that what he just said?
Yeah. It was about a week ago, though. The
all right.
28th.
Well, thank you, Sammy. We'll take a quick break. We'll come right back. We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. We got Nathan Velasquez talking movies coming up. He's breaking down Elvis. And then we're also going to eat breakfast burritos from our friend Galen Iverstein over at Iverstein's. Make sure and check out the new Iverstein's Butcher Shop. It is located inside of the Perkin Crossing Shopping Center. If you're heading towards Bluebonnet from College Drive on Perkins Road.
I still use ways to get to
Yeah. As soon as you cross over Essen, you'll see the Perkins Crossing Shopping Center right there on your left. That's where Iverstein's is, sitting right there on the corner spot of that shopping center. They got lunch day hot plates every single day. They got a great selections of meat that you can stop in and check out over at Iverstein's. We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
Make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
In a wreck, Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys is ready to go to work for you. Come meet your team.
I'm your intake specialist. I coordinate your case and connect you with your attorney and paralegal.
That's us, your legal team.
Thanks.
And we'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
I'm your settlements and disbursement manager, and I'm here to get you paid on time.
I'm attorney Gordon McKernan. Put our team to work today. Just call us. Get it done.
Do you suffer from chronic dehydration? Are you looking to improve your athletic performance and you need to get over and see our friends over at GoFlow IV? They're located on Jefferson Highway. Easy to find them online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. Make sure and use the promo code Jordy Culotta Show. If you do, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit. Check them out online, GEAUXFlowIV.com.
Hey Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
Southern Eye Centers, located at 6859 Jefferson Highway right here in Baton Rouge, has been serving your eyes for over 40 years in the capital region. They offer friendly service in a helpful environment with the highest level of personal care to manage your eye health and vision needs. If you want more information, log online to southernyecenters.com. That is southernyecenters.com. Stop in and check out their beautiful office located on Jefferson Highway right here in the capital city. And remember, each time you walk in there and you mention the Jordy Culotta Show, Dr. Ann Shaw and Southern Eye Centers will take 25% off of their fantastic selection of sunglasses. All you got to do is mention the Jordy Culotta Show. Check them out, southernyecenters.com, and located at 6859 Jefferson Highway. Man,
appreciate
I cannot wait to watch your group play. And the reason we said this to the public, we wanted to get you on, is because everybody that's come through here, recruit, player in the locker room, coaches, have mentioned your name of making an impact on their time or their decision to be at LSU. So keep doing it right, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Like I said, you give our guys a platform. They come in talking about the show, so
yeah.
This is awesome. Nice setup too. I might steal one of these couches.
Yeah, you got it, bro. You got it. We got a lot of gear for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
LSU cornerbacks coach Robert Steeple's in with us for that was great conversation. All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Ghost Chevrolet, live on this Friday. Make sure you hit that like button, share button, comment button. If you have not subscribed to the channel, we appreciate you hitting that subscription button. If you hit the bell every time we go live, you'll know it. Remember, Mic'd Up will originate from Uncle Earl's this afternoon. If you're looking for a place to post up and take in the afternoon, go join him over at Uncle Earl's. Got a bar tab for you over there.
Absolutely, $100.
At Uncle Earl's. So
if we go over it, Mikey has to pay the difference. So if you have any ill will or spite against him.
Big pockets, big leaguers.
That's right.
Yeah. Lloyd
Hit
always
him on that pension.
He always makes sure to announce that.
Yeah, don't be
like go over the bar tab.
Don't be afraid.
So Mikey has to pay.
Yeah, that's why. I just want to make sure you know.
4:30 to 6 this afternoon.
Yep.
Mic'd Up. Make sure you check him out over there for the latest edition. And if you have not subscribed to the 5-Minute Critic, our friend Nathan Velasquez, he's got weekly breakdowns over on his YouTube channel. Got great social media that you can follow him on. Just had family in town visiting last week in New York. and now here back with us on this Friday. How was the family time, bro?
It was great. It was a lot of fun. We went to Little Italy. We spent a good bit of time. They've been 3 times now to New York, and that's their favorite place to go is Little Italy. And yeah, it's great. It's a lot of fun. My dad is a huge mafia buff, so he knows a bunch of trivia about it and everything. So we were at this. I forget the name of the restaurant now. Yeah. He's always if you give him he's going around New York and he'll be like, did you know that right here is where Joe Colombo is where he got assassinated? He's like, we didn't know that, but the train is about 5 minutes away, so we really need to get moving. Right. But he was looking
right where you're standing is where James Corleone's brains were laying after he got his head blown
exactly.
off. Yes.
But we were in a restaurant, and he had known that there was a scene in The Irishman wherever Robert De Niro's character goes and makes an assassination in Little Italy. So he asked the server, he's like, hey, this restaurant, it was in this movie, do you know? The guy's like, no, we get this question a lot. So he's like, where is the restaurant? Is it still here? And he goes, that's this restaurant. This is the restaurant where that hit actually took place. It was in that corner over there. And the look on his face was like, this is the greatest trip of all time. I love this. So yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Nathan, best Italian restaurant you've eaten in since being in the city?
Olive Garden.
I would say... I do say that a lot. I do say I tease Leanna and her family because they their grandparents came over from Sicily, and so I'll be like, whenever we want, let's go to Times Square. I'll treat you guys to Olive Garden, best Italian food. Awesome. But really though, if you're in the city, I found Amici is the best. It's on Mulberry Street in Little Italy. The gnocchi there is fantastic, so good. So if you're in town, check out Amici on Mulberry Street. It's really good.
Devastating news in Hollywood yesterday, Nathan. One of the old heads, one of the rocks of Hollywood, one of the last standing true Hollywood movie stars, James Caan, passed away yesterday. Obviously, his lifetime role will be remembered as his character in The Godfather. He played an incredible role as a young actor in Brian's Song, which was, of course, a great football and
good performance.
Brian Piccolo. But my favorite role that Caan ever played was the coach in the program. He was the head coach in the program, which I thought for my generation is the best football movie ever made.
I thought for sure you were going to say The Dad and Elf.
He's great there too.
I thought he was going to say that.
But how do you remember James
Whenever
Caan?
he sings that song.
Yes.
That's the thing it's tough. I mean, we talked about it with Ray Liotta a few weeks ago. He has a more, I would say, diverse range of characters that he played that you know him from. Fantastic as Piccolo in Brian's Song. Great as Sheldon in Misery. The scene with the block of wood. He's very good there. He's I know. To pull something off like that, I don't know how he did it, but it's very good. Personally, if I had to pick, I would go with Frank in Thief, the Michael Mann movie. Really, really good performance. So if you like Heat, it's that type of movie, that type of flavor, and he does a great job in that. But, I mean, yeah, it's that. I mean, the Thief would be the one I would pick as my favorite performance of him. But he got what Ray Liotta did with Goodfellas, just that epochal role of Sonny. I mean, we talked about The Offer a lot here. The Godfather is considered, not just by movie fans, but even film directors still rank it as the greatest, not just the greatest movie, the greatest sequel. And even the trilogy, the third movie is still good. It's got its problems, but as a set, it's just such a... We've only had movies for 100 years, and that movie is at the top. That is the best movie. And when you go back and you revisit it, you realize how much the character of Sonny haunts Michael throughout all of those movies. Yeah. And it's part of what makes the movie so long-lasting, so good. It's part of what makes the character of Michael so good. And the only reason that it works is you go back to James Caan's titanic performance in the first Godfather. He's so good. The way that he's able to, he's got that hot-headedness about him, but in a way that it feels sympathetic. You see that he just can't help it. He's trying to be as helpful, as productive, as useful as possible, and it ends up being his downfall. He just can't control it. And yeah, James Caan he's so convincing in the role. He's fantastic. Again, he's got a lot of performances that you can go to and say, he's clearly got range. He's very good. But that role, it's sad to see him go, and yeah, that's the one he'll be remembered for, and rightly so, because it's a great performance.
Absolutely, and if you've watched The Offer, you've seen kind of the backstory on how tough it was for a non-Italian to break through to that cast because of everything that they had. I mean, they had to get through the mob. They had to get through the Hollywood mob. They had to get through everybody to get on that. And for James Caan to get that role I think shows you his talent. Another role that I think will live on always for Caan will be his character in Misery. To me, was always one that will always stay. I mean, I still see Kathy Bates standing over his tied up legs on that bed with the maul about to break it. Have y'all ever seen Misery?
No, I thought it was about to get hot in here.
I mean, that scene when she breaks his
Lloyd,
leg,
you got to check it out.
It's
a horror movie that takes place. Yeah, it's a horror movie that takes place mainly during the day, and it is still it's got one of the toughest scenes to watch, and I think that's one of the ones that makes James Caan such an interesting performer. Is that he does always have this in all of his movies. He's the tough guy, and to see him in this movie where he literally has no command over the scenes because Kathy Bates is the toughest one in the movie. And his role is, okay, James, it's like, Caan, you're the tough guy in all the movies, but your role is now literally you're just trapped in a bed. So you're going to have to be the sympathetic one, the nice one, the caring one. And he does a good job being the main character in a movie where he's not playing the tough guy that you normally know him for. It's a good movie. And that scene still, I've seen that movie 3 times, and every single time, okay, all right, the scene's about to happen. It's going to be fine. And it happens jeez, what's going on? Can't do this.
Firewood in between the legs, dude. I mean,
no. And she's so kind. She's like, I just got to do this for you. It's for your own good. You just don't understand. It's like, oh, what's wrong with you?
I have seen this movie.
What's that?
My mom made me watch this movie.
What?
Jesus, what were you?
What did you do that
My
day?
mom would make me watch movies like that she liked.
Jeez.
Just to show
Say
me
another
cinema.
word, I'll turn into Andy Bates.
Good cinema.
That's almost...
bedtime was 10
That's almost
I
like
forgot
the
about our
Kathy-
time together on a sports talk show. We spent 3-4 years together on a sports talk show and forgot how much you loved F1 racing. And then through all of this
I do love
popularity,
it.
brother, you got to kind of be sitting in the catbird seat saying, I told you so. What do you make of the popularity F1's going through right now?
I mean, it's happening because of the Netflix show Drive to Survive. And I feel like such an asshole whenever it comes up and it's kind of like, I like the racing before the Netflix show came around. And so, okay, all right, dude. Yeah, we get it. But no, it's awesome. It's on one side, you have just the drivers, which there's a lot of drama there. There's a lot of fun there. Then just the racing is very cool to watch. It's a very but then when you get more into the mechanics, the engineering of it, what these teams have to go through, you're operating it over 200 miles per hour. Whenever a Formula One car is hitting its peak, it is going the speed that planes go whenever they take off. It is wicked fast the way that these cars go, and they're maneuvering around just these insane tracks, which should not the training that the actors go through, the training that drivers go through to get prepped for Formula 2 and 3 is insane. What they have to go through, it's not quite the pressures of NASCAR. But if you like the racing, it's fun on that angle. If you enjoy the engineering, it's very fun on that angle. And the Netflix show is awesome. So if you want to get into it, that's a really good avenue of getting into it. Personally, I love Red Bull. I think that's the team to watch. I think they've got, in terms of, if you don't just want to follow the drivers, the team as a whole, they do a very, very good job when it comes to building the cars and then working with the drivers. You can feel the collaboration there. Whenever they do well, you can really feel it. It's a team spirit as opposed to, I would say Mercedes is the more popular team, but they don't really do as good of a job. They're much more just a flashy. I would say they throw money at everything. All of their drivers are very flashy. It's all me, which is just, some people like that. But Red Bull, I think, is the best team. But yeah, the popularity, and we talked about Netflix a few weeks ago, how they're in some trouble right now. They're losing a ton of subscribers. But when it comes to influence, Netflix is still the only streaming service that has that level of power, because ESPN was paying, in 2015, they were paying about $5 million for the rights every single year because they got about 500,000 viewers a race. And now this year they're at 1.5 million viewers a race.
Damn.
And the contract, they signed a new one through 2025. They were paying $5 million for an entire year. Now they're paying upwards of $75-80 million to stream F1. So it's weird. It's weird that it's become so popular. It's very cool. And yeah, if you do want to get into it, definitely check out Drive to Survive, because it's a good show. It's still a very fun show, and it'll give you kind of the behind the scenes if you're interested in engineering or just the driving, just the racers. It's a fun way to, I think, get involved with the sport.
what do you make of the box office success that has been happening for movies like Top Gun? Minions continues to clean up, but the movies is something that we doubted for a while, the movie theater.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's finding its way back to a consistent place within commerce.
Yeah, it was an annoying thing throughout 2020, 2021. Everyone was saying, oh, streaming is here to pretty much kill the movie theaters. You were having things simultaneously released, like the Sopranos movie. They were, considering it with Dune. They did it with that new terrible Matrix movie. But now, with this weekend especially, you have, what is it? It's Rise of Gru is now breaking the box office records for 4th of July weekends. I think now that entire series has passed $4 billion. This newest movie is already at $219 million. Elvis, just this weekend, it just got, well, I guess the past weekend, it got past 76 million, which is about to pass 100 million. And the first weekend Elvis came out, it tied with its box office with Top Gun, which is in its 6th weekend. And it's still in the running. Like, Top Gun has now passed $1.1 billion. And I think, what is it? It's the 57th highest grossing movie domestically in America right now. It's about to pass up, I think, The Dark Knight for the amount of tickets sold. But yeah, it's huge. People are going back for like a third time. Yeah. And even still this year, we have like Thor, the new Thor movie is coming out today. But then you have Avatar, which is coming out later this year, which is going to be a huge player. But it's interesting because you have movies like Elvis, Minions for, a bit. It's kind of tied to like a famous property. You have Top Gun, which was a risk if it was going to make it, over 30 years, getting a sequel. You don't know if that's really going to stick. But it's nice to see that something other than Marvel is getting people out to the theaters multiple times, which is something that people were saying is just, maybe it's going to go away. And it's not. Like, people still love it. People still love the experience. And yeah, it's you're not going to get the same thing watching a movie at home. And I think it's encouraging just to see that people are still able to get out and go and see a movie like this. Elvis in particular, because that is kind of geared more towards the older crowd. So it's good to see that even they're kind of coming back out to see movies again. I think it's encouraging.
Have you seen Elvis?
I did see Elvis in New Jersey. When we went to the Jersey Shore, we went to a theater, packed, completely packed screening. Wow. And it is a mixed bag, but it is a hot mess. Like, it is such a hot mess. There is so much money thrown at the screen. The editing of this movie gets lost at so many times. The story with its timing is all over the place. Tom Hanks looks like a toad in his fat suit. Like, there are just scenes in the movie that go so over the top that you're rolling your eyes. Leanna looked over to me like twice during the movie. Was like, "Are you serious? Like, you're bringing me to see this movie? Like, this scene? Like, seriously with this?" But I've got to say, it is still an absolutely magnificent experience. I think you have to still go and see it in the theater, because there are moments, particularly Austin Butler, who is playing Elvis. With all of the scenes that mess up, the moments that they hit it right, the moments that he walks on stage and you really think for a second, is this stock footage of Elvis, or is this, and you're just like, okay, no, this is actually the actor performing Elvis. There are moments in the movie that are just so gripping, either with his performance of Elvis, even Tom Hanks at times is incredible, but whenever they actually recreate some of these moments of him on stage, whether it's his first show in Vegas, his comeback tour, some of the scenes whenever he's performing his own movies, or before he's even known as Elvis Presley, they do a fantastic job in some of those music moments. Enough so that I would say, you know what, this movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes long. There are scenes that are going to make you roll your eyes. But if you do not see it in the theater, then you might as well not watch it. Because when it does what it's doing well, it does it fantastically well. So I would still recommend, with all that, to go and check it out in the theater.
Do you think that the popularity of Elvis is because of that the people that love Elvis Presley absolutely love Elvis Presley, like they're diehard fans? Or is it because everything you just said where the movie's actually good?
I think if there's going to be the initial box office success that it's had, would have to be given thanks to the people that love Elvis already. And if it's going to, it'll probably need to see in the next 2 weeks, kind of like Top Gun, where the word of mouth was so good that people were going again, and then that just brought people out in droves. I think we'll see this weekend, next weekend, if people want to go and see it because just of what people are saying about Elvis. But I mean, there's clearly so much love for Elvis still that it's enough to make a huge impact at the box office. So I don't think we know for sure if it's going to be a full-on hit, but it's definitely going to make its money back, and I think it's going to leave a dent by the end of the year as well, because people do love Elvis.
Hashtag Ask Nate. Daniel Glenn asks, Nate, thoughts on news of Christian Bale in talks with Disney Star Wars to play Star Killer in live action?
That's my boy right there.
Really?
Yeah.
I had no idea. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
Really?
Initial reaction to that, Christian Bale is he's a weird actor. He's got he's a method actor for sure. He'll go over 300 pounds to play Dick Cheney, and then he'll go around to 120 pounds to be in The Machinist. Exactly. But he's doing this. He's in the new Thor movie right now, and to hear he's going to try out for Star Wars as well. It's interesting. It's very interesting that he's going in a more big budget area because he's so much of a method actor. But I mean, good for him. I think it's uncharted territory to see someone that's kind of in the Daniel Day-Lewis camp go for the big blockbuster ticket items. And yeah, I mean, all the better for it, because sometimes those movies can get the stale actors that get the big paychecks and don't really care. So if you get people like Christian Bale in those movies, I'll probably be more excited for them. I'm not all that excited for the Thor movie, but I'm probably going to go see it because of Christian Bale. So if they can get more people like that, that'd be awesome.
5 Minute Critic. Yeah. He's on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe there. They've got weekly breakdowns of movies. I believe this week is Elvis. So make sure and tune in for this week is 5 Minute Critic. Have a great weekend, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Y'all too. See you next week.
Bye.
There is Nathan Velasquez checking in. We're brought to you by Fresh Chef Kitchen. Remember, Fresh Chef Eats. You can find them online at freshchefeats.com. They're on social media on Facebook as well. So if you're looking for pre-made meals, if you're looking for a little help in the kitchen and getting your meals prepared, then check out Fresh Chef Eats online, freshchefeats.com. Speaking of food, we'll be talking to Galen Iverstein. When we come back here, we'll have our breakfast burritos served up by our guy, Galen Iverstein. We'll talk more about it coming up here on the Jordy Culotta Show to close it out here, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet.
Dick Cheney, huh? Is your hall pass?
What else we got? One more. Voicemail. Hang on 1 second, Jamil. We're coming to you after this voicemail.
They're talking. We're all snapping at her. Shut up.
Shut up back there.
I was just calling to find out when the Jordy Culotta Invitational is going down. Don't make it soon because it's too damn hot. I know y'all know that with the lack of AC going on at the joint. And if Rico Delgado's listening, he's a bitch. Send my condolences to Jock. Bye. I was just calling to find.
That's awesome.
Bro, that's the Call Hall of Fame. There it is.
That is.
That's the one seat.
That's what we needed.
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's what we've been looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't play it long. And you know what? We need to cut that up. Play that last part again. Let me hear that last part. We should be able to cut this part up.
I know y'all know that with the lack of AC going on at the joint. And if Rico Delgado's listening, he's a bitch. Sorry, WAFB.
Sorry, WAFB.
That'll be a fine, wherever you are. Whoever you are, where are you calling from?
Spring, Texas.
Okay, I love it, dude. See, that's what we need. We need to know your name.
This show in particular, highlighting the players that I've seen come through here, and the coaches, we're grateful to have the opportunity.
The suit said, he said, Lloyd pushes the envelope on the cussing thing we've talked about. Hey, how's the show? We're all kind of passing the bread, you know what I mean? Early, I'm just trying to fit in at this table. They're like, oh yeah, the show's good. What's the guy in on the couch? What's Lloyd? Is it Lloyd? Yeah, Lloyd. What about him? He sure does push the line on the cussing thing, doesn't he? Which, by the way, there's no rules to our contract at
Right.
WAFB that states that, like we can't cuss at a certain time or, we've got to change the show at any point. There's been no discussions of changing anything that we do from WAFB. I ended up at a lunch yesterday with 3 suits from WAFB.
In the Jays?
In the Jays, in the hat, in the T-shirt. I thought I was going to meet 1 suit, and we actually showed up to the same restaurant that 2 other suits were eating at. We all conjoined table and had an executive lunch with everybody from WAFB. A lot of good return on the show early on. A lot of good feedback. They think we ought to start fining for cursing in the first hour.
Fining who?
Fining for whoever does it.
Like fining each other?
Yeah.
We're going to have a swear jar?
A swear jar.
Okay.
Tough.
7 a.m. between the 7 and 8 a.m. hour.
It's Lloyd that would
That's
have
exactly
the
what they
problem.
said.
So
That's exactly what they said.
Do you suffer from chronic dehydration? Are you looking to improve your athletic performance and you need to get over and see our friends over at GoFlow IV? They're located on Jefferson Highway. Easy to find them online at GEAUXFlowIV.com. Make sure and use the promo code Jordy Culotta Show. If you do, they'll take 15% off of your initial visit. Check them out online, GEAUXFlowIV.com.
Hey, Baton Rouge, when traveling through Natchez, Mississippi, whether you need to fill up your vehicle or your belly, stop by Go-Mart and On The Go Deli. Go-Mart has clean restrooms, community coffee, an awesome beer cave, and a great selection of anything you might need on your trip. So stop by Go-Mart at 4 Sergeant Prentice Drive as you're entering Natchez on the left, and visit Tom and Wright Granning and their awesome team at Go-Mart.
We're all from different places and backgrounds. We've each experienced our own versions of life, but in the end, we're all on the same team. I'm part of that team, along with these players in purple and gold.
Kayshawn Buddha, Malik Neighbors, Miles Frazier,
Kyron Lacy,
Greg Brooks.
Whether on the field or in the courtroom, your team matters.
So join our team.
make a difference.
Bet. Let's get it done.
Welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Every Friday, our Foodie Fridays segment, all of our grub is provided by the best Iversteins. We've been telling you about the move, and the move is final. They are now set up in Perkins Crossing Shopping Center in a fantastic space. I was in there last week and picked up some lunch. Line was flowing, a lot of hot plates moving. This week, they announced a new selection, a new choice for you, and that's that they're serving breakfast. And we're eating up some of the breakfast burritos right now.
Fire.
I believe this one's ham. Galen brought in sausage as well. These are awesome. Very simple breakfast items for you over at Iverstein's. They get cranking at 7 a.m. every single day. Monday through Friday? Monday through Saturday?
Monday through Saturday on breakfast right now. And then with the intention in a couple of weeks, we'll launch a Sunday brunch as well.
Yep, and that is the man in studio with us. Galen Iverstein, of course, the president, the founder, the man over at Iverstein's Butcher Shop, which is now moved, which we said, just write down Perkins Road. So if you're looking for Iverstein's in its normal spot up Perkins, across from what's that grocery store that it was? Sprouts. Across from it used to be across from Sprouts. Now it's down. Keep going towards Essen Lane on Perkins Road. As soon as you cross over Essen Lane, right on the left to Perkins Crossing Shopping Center, you'll see Iverstein's right in the corner there. You walk in, a fantastic space. And as we said, Galen is here to talk to us about it here on this Friday. Good to see you, bro.
Good to see y'all. Hadn't been in a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute.
sending
Obviously,
other people.
a lot of things happening. You've been very busy.
Yeah.
What was the move like? And now that you're in the new space, what's it like being set up with all this area now?
The move was interesting. We kind of tried to do it as quick as we could to minimize the downtime for our customers. It took us about 2 weeks to get moved and opened up. We're loving the new space. It's got all sorts of room for activities and doing more production for our customers and offering more variety for them. Got a full kitchen there, banging out lunch, breakfast, but also stocking our retail coolers with stuff you can take home. Our mustard greens have been really popular, surprisingly. We got mustard greens at Smoked Hocks by the court in there, people picking them up. And that was kind of the reason we put in a kitchen originally was that was a comment we got a lot from our customers. It's like, man, I can take home a ribeye and filet and cook, but I don't want to do the sides. So we're able to kind of provide sides and stuff for them and just make it an easier experience for everybody. You know, before our target demographic was really good at-home cooks. You know,
you know what you're getting, like people what they're buying.
Exactly, but what we figured out, a lot of people in Baton Rouge don't cook and they just want to eat out all the time. So this has given us the opportunity to take our quality meat products and put them in a form and do all the work for you and invite you in to eat. Yeah.
And you still have the cool stuff that you had at the former spot. You still have the windows, the butcher windows.
Yeah, we had certain elements of the old shop. We definitely wanted to travel over to the new shop to make it comfortable and familiar to our original customers that have been so loyal over the years. You know, we have customers that bought a piece of meat from us in 2010 at the farmer's market.
Wow.
Still shopping with us every week. So that's been really cool. And just seeing that customer base expand as we expand our offerings has been a lot of fun.
One thing that you do feel when you're in Iverstein's here in Baton Rouge, at least from my standpoint, and Galen referenced people that eat out all the time. I'm one of those here in the community that rarely cooks in and mostly eats out. When you go into Iverstein's, there's nothing like it here locally. That you won't find anything that feels like it. The choices, the selections, the freshness of it, the expertise of it in Galen, who was raised around this and really understands it and puts his passion and love into it. So that is one thing that I would say in your experience, if you have not gone to Iverstein's and you're looking for something different here in Baton Rouge, especially for you that eat out a lot, go check them out. And the new locations, as we said, Perkins Crossing Shopping Center, right there on Perkins Road. Easy to find. Great space now on the corner of the shopping center. You can sit down and eat lunch, and you can take home the great selections that they've always had.
And to add to that is service. Mm-hmm. You know, we offer really good service. If you go on Google right now and look at our reviews, very little about it is about meat and food. It's all about the quality of service that you get. And I think that's something that people crave these days.
Yeah,
when you go into a fast food restaurant and the person serving you would rather you not be there. It's kind of offensive.
Absolutely.
So that's what we try to, make sure the customer is the focal point of our intention the whole time they're there, and getting them exactly what they need, answering all their questions, and I think that goes a long way.
Really comes across. I mean, even Josh, your representative, who has been inside.
Josh is great. Yeah.
He's been in the studio the last couple of weeks. You get that friendly feeling that you're kind of referencing, because it's true. When you walk in, it feels very down home. It feels very different. I'm telling you, if you have not experienced Iverstein, it's awesome. In fact, CVO says the new location looks great
great
over there.
It's really comfortable. Like the dining room's awesome. Like and seeing people at lunch, just kind of hanging out, enjoying a cup of coffee, catching up with friends. That's really why we built it that way. Just kind of a communal spot where people can enjoy themselves.
Breakfast is new for you.
Yeah, we started breakfast this week.
Yeah, tell us about it. What's going on with it?
It's great. We're kind of launching with grab and go items, because I think people are in a hurry in the mornings. So we're doing breakfast burritos that you'll have this morning, some breakfast sandwiches. We just hired on a new chef who has a lot of pastry chef experience, so she's got a lot of ideas for biscuits and croissants and stuff like that. But everything that you're getting, like the meats in them, that's all produced in-house. Like the breakfast sausage is made in-house. The ham is cured and smoked in house, and so you're getting to experience everything from the butcher side, already prepared, ready to go, and you can come in and dine.
Kelly and I picked up a couple of pieces a few weeks ago, and we got the grass-fed.
Okay, what cut
filet.
did you get?
We
The
got the
fillets?
filet.
Yeah.
Yep.
What'd you think?
And loved them.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to ask you on it was, from a shopping standpoint, and then from an eating standpoint, the difference of
so
that.
a couple of, so that you're referencing the diet of the animal there. So on the grass fed, that cow has eaten nothing but grass its entire life.
Oh.
So versus,
Welcome in my home.
Yeah. It's like you re-up.
Right.
Yeah. So and then on the grain fed side, they are raised on grass up to a certain point. At about 900 pounds, they enter a feed lot, and then that's where they start packing the pounds on, and that's where you see all that fat. The difference in flavors, I find, is because of the variety of the diet that an animal's getting on grass, they get
the munchies. Get hungrier.
They have a little more complex flavor profile. So, on a grain-fed animal, they're getting about 3 ingredients in their diet. So to me, I find the flavor profile pretty flat. It's going to be super, fatty and stays really moist when you cook it. On that grass-fed animal, I prefer the flavor. I like the fat on a grass-fed animal. I digest it easier. It's something I really enjoy. But about 3 years ago, we had so many customers requesting grain-fed steaks, we started carrying it. When you hear something
Pawnee, Indiana.
Sure.
Yeah. when you hear a comment from a customer enough, you start offering it to them.
Right.
So it's really kind of expanded our customer base and the variety we're able to offer.
Yeah.
So because when you think about that grass-fed filet that you got the other night, when we bring in a 700-pound steer, any guesses on how many pounds of filet we can get off of a 700-pound steer?
Of a grass-fed?
About 6 pounds.
What?
So, and that's the most popular cut on the animal. So it goes super quick. So we needed it to kind of have
overpopulated in this area.
Yeah, so we needed something to supplement with on the grain-fed side. So we're carrying prime. We're carrying Wagyu on top of, what got us started was the local grass-fed beef as well.
One of the things that Josh has been talking about weekly is the bundles.
Yeah, the bundle's been great. We started that about 3 years ago. Josh took it over this year. He's doing a really good job with it. And the way that works is we put together a bundle of meat that's delivered to your door once a month. And it's got a good variety of cuts in there. We always have something for breakfast. We have ground beef, smoked sausage. We try to put a grilling cut, a roasting cut. We say it feeds a family of 4, probably 6 to 8 meals a month. So it's a good kind of dent in your grocery shopping. You've got that solved. You also can go in and add on stuff that you're going to use every month. So let's say you're a family of 5 and you use 10 pounds of ground beef. You can put that in your order and we'll deliver it straight to your house.
What if you're a family of 1? Are people trying to do it to meal prep?
Well, yeah, some people do it for meal prep, but that's also an idea Josh has that he wants to roll out is we're calling it the Sweetheart Bundle. So instead of focused on families of 4, bring the weight down a little bit and kind of cater to people with smaller households.
Absolutely.
If you are curious about getting a bundle, getting on the list, it's very easy to do. All you have to do is log on to iversteinfarms.com, iversteinfarms.com, and on the top right, you see the butcher bundles. All you do is click on that link. Next thing you know, you're being prompted to subscribe, and then within a week, you'll have a package of meat at your door.
What is from
Iverstein's.
Yeah, what is the most popular thing on the menu? And then what is probably the chef's favorite thing on the menu?
On the food menu?
Yeah, on the food menu. And then what do you think that there probably is the best thing?
Steak Tip Tuesday has been a hit. So every Tuesday we make these sirloin steak skewers that we marinate, and then they get topped with the chimichurri sauce, and those have been super popular. People start stacking up, waiting on them. That, and then on Fridays, which I put on right before I came here, we do smoked pork shoulder steaks.
I was just looking at that.
My favorite cut.
Really?
Oh, man. You can't screw them up. They're just so tender and juicy. They're just great. We smoke them for about 3 hours, and they get a little glaze on them.
Nice.
They're so good. Yeah.
Nice. So tell us how has the capabilities expanded with the new facility? I see you got more personnel.
Yeah, we've basically tripled our staff overnight, which has been interesting.
Yeah,
that's been fun. But we really have built a good crew. We got a good team together from the butcher side all the way to the kitchen side. And the chef that we have right now, she's got some great ideas on kind of making your shopping experience easier. So ramen's all the rage right now, and on our end we always end up with a lot of bones. So she's got this idea to make these ramen kits that you can take home. Here's your broth. Here's the meats. Here's all the veggies. You can take it home and do ramen at home. Like spaghetti kits, where here's your sauce that we make in-house. Here's your Italian sausage, your meatballs, and your pasta. I know you can get in on that on a Friday night.
Yes.
Impress your girl. And then you don't have to make that gravy. We'll do it for you.
Salt.
Yeah.
7731 Perkins Road. It is right there on the corner, man. It's a great spot. The new
Easy in and
facility
out.
is it's very easy to get in and out of. Great parking. And like I said, the facility is fantastic. As soon as you walk in, you see the wide selection. They got hot plates, great selections of meats.
Local beers.
I was about to say, y'all serving any booze?
We have a really good selection of like craft beer and wines. We are just doing packaged right now. We've been talking to ATC about getting our on-site consumption, so that's something we're working with. Come in, have a beer, eat lunch on the weekends.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Online, iversteinfarms.com, and every Friday, our Foodie Friday segment, compliments of our friends over at Iverstein Farms. If you want to get on that bundle list, remember, online, top right, just click on that link, and they can take care of you, man. It is good to see everybody here. Great to see you,
Yeah,
bro.
good to see y'all. Thanks for having me in.
Thank you
Hope
for
y'all enjoyed
as
the
always
breakfast.
for the breakfast. Check them out at Iverstein Farms on social media. Make sure and give a like, share, and follow subscription to the YouTube page before you get out of here today. Have a great weekend. We'll be back with you Monday morning, 7 a.m. Remember, Mikey Matuk and Mic'd Up will originate from Uncle Earl's this afternoon, 4:30 to 6. So you're looking for somewhere to take in the afternoon, a little happy hour over there. They got a bar tab available for you. Stop in and see them at Uncle Earl's this afternoon for Mic'd Up, latest edition. Have a great weekend. We'll be back with you on Monday.
You have to call an Uber.
That's right.
the plan?
Driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Appreciate it, G.
Yeah, thanks for having me.